All righty, welcome. Hello, I am Heather Pierce Campbell, the legal website warrior. Welcome to another episode of Guts, Grit, and Great Business. Today, I'm so excited to bring you my new friend, relatively recent friend, Jen Coffel. And Jen, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we connected through LinkedIn, right? Was that how we got connected?
We did connect there, but also the Danes.
The Dames, yes, one of my favorite people on LinkedIn. Megan connected us. So, for those of you that don't know of Jen and Jen's work, Jen Coffel is CEO of Engaging Speakers, a successful business coach, a best-selling author with 4 books, and a philanthropist. She's been featured on Inc.com, ABC News, and the Chicago Tribune. Jen has been mentored by speaking icons like Jack Canfield, Nick, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to know how to say his last name.
Pajuicic, he's the gentleman who has no arms or legs.
Nick, yes, Pajujic. I know of Nick. I just didn't know how to say his last name. And Sandra Yancey, and has spoken on stage to over 10,000 people. With 2 decades of business experience, Jen built her first 4 businesses to 6 figures each, all in under a year and all in different industries. She has now helped over 1,000 entrepreneurs build their businesses, with many reaching 6- and 7-figure revenues. Jen has an innovative and down-to-earth speaking style audiences love. Her speaking topics include 5 secrets to transform your business into a 100K profit center, and leveraging speaking to get all the clients you want in half the time. I love that one. In her previous career, she developed the largest team in Illinois for $1 billion direct sales company, personally generating over $25 million in sales and raising over $1 million in donations for nonprofits. But she is most proud of founding her own international nonprofit, Handing Hope, which brings comfort and smiles to children battling cancer in 12 states and 3 countries around the world. Jen, gosh, I don't know how anybody can follow that introduction, but it's apparently you. So I'm so happy to have you here. Tell me, because I didn't know about this work in the nonprofit sector and that you had your own nonprofit. Can we start there? Tell
Yeah,
me how you started with the Handing Hope.
well, that's my love project. I lost my mom and my dad and my best friend all to cancer. They all died young, and they all died within a year and a half of each other. And
Mm,
they all loved children, and I have 4 kids. And so after they passed, and it was gone through the grieving process. It took a few years. Obviously, that's a lot of
mm,
loss at one time, and I just wanted to do something that celebrated their lives in a joyful way. And because they all died of cancer, and cancer is a big disease for children, I wanted to do something fun. So we have these lollipop trees, and they're on wood, and you stick the little lollipops all in, and they're naturally sugar free. They're sweetened from a birch tree, and they're super cute. They're all different colors, and when kids get cancer, a lot of families will decide to, do a ketogenic diet,
mhm.
no sugar. And so imagine being a mom and like not being able to give your kids treats, especially if they're going through like something hard,
Something
right? Like
hard.
cancer. Yeah. And so the kids aren't getting treats or not enjoying it's just hard. And so I want to
Mm,
do something fun. So we came up with this idea and started donating these lollipop trees from a manufacturer in Michigan called Dr. John's. And so it's actually fantastic for your teeth to have these type of lollipops. They prevent cavities. And so they're like a multi-million-dollar company. And then when we found out about them, because I was looking for something sugar-free that we could give these kids, they loved our idea. And so they gave us a discount. And then after a couple years, they're like, you know what? Any lollipops you want to give away, we'll give them to you.
mm.
We'll reimburse you for free. So we really have just such a blessing in being able to give these out wherever, and it's so fun to go and do that and visit with the families and the kids and see them enjoy, having a treat, and knowing that it's like guilt-free, and the family and the
Mm.
parents and staff don't feel guilty about giving them. So it's just a fun thing I love to do when I travel, for speaking or business. I always, call and look for a hospital that's in the area that I can bring them to, and just kind of
Hmm.
continue to extend my loved one's memory and just do something joyful.
That's amazing. Tell me again what they're made of. How are they? What are
They're
they?
sweetened with a sugar-free sweetener from a birch tree. And it's
Got it.
the form of like xylitol, which is great for preventing cavities, and it's all
Okay.
natural. And there's no like dye in them, but they're all different colors. There's no dye. There's no, they're all the free things: soy free, dairy free, nut free,
Yes.
all that, and sugar free. And so it's and they don't taste sugar free. There's no strange aftertaste or anything. They're delicious. So it's fun to use.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so impressive. Well, and it's amazing that that company basically like partnered with you on, just providing those. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. After a couple years, they saw like that we kept putting them up all over, and they're like, you know what? You guys can just keep doing that. So,
I love that. Oh my gosh, but what a hard start to that story. I'm really, really sorry to hear about your losses. How old were you when you went through that?
well, my mom and dad were 65 when they passed, and my
Mm.
best friend was 40, and I was 43 when all that happened.
Mm.
So
Oh, that's so
I'll be
hard.
50 in like less than 2 weeks.
Oh my heavens. Well, happy early birthday. You look amazing. I would never guess you're approaching 50. You've got kiddos, right?
4 teenagers.
Four
Yeah.
teenagers.
I had four, 3 and under at one point. We tried for 6 years.
Mm.
Once we finally had them, we got them all at once. We adopted our first baby, and then 5 months into that, we did IVF, and we got pregnant with twins. And so we had twins, and then we had a 2-year-old and 1-year-old twins, and my body started working. I got pregnant by surprise. And so there we were with all four of them. And then I was getting my tubes tied at the last pregnancy. And I'm like, what am I doing? I can't believe this is happening after all these years of trying. Now, here I am, 4 kids, 3 and under, and I'm getting my tubes tied. This is like a story I would never have believed, would happen.
That is wild. The number of times though, the part that about, adopting a child and then having biology work and nature show up and a baby on the way, like the number of times I've heard that, it's just so fascinating how that
I'll
works.
say that drove me crazy, because people, that's true, right? That happens. And people
Yes.
would say to me, oh, just go adopt and then you'll get pregnant. And I was like, that's like, I don't want to go adopt for that reason. That's silly. That's a terrible reason to go adopt. But, so I was kind of like heels in the ground. I didn't think emotionally I could really handle like being,
Yeah.
because, oftentimes, sometimes the stories will, happen where you get chosen and then mom changes her mind. And
I
I just don't find heart to
know.
be able to handle that. So my story of that was crazy. I got a call on a Monday night from the secretary from our church that knew we were on a prayer list for years, and
Mm.
said that, she knew we were on a prayer list, would be open to adoption, that a baby was born, was planned to be adopted out of state. The birth mom didn't want her to go out of state, knew we wanted children, would we be open to this idea? And so I was, this like came out of the blue. So I called,
Right.
my husband was in the house, and I went and found him and said, would you be open to this? And he said, I guess. And so then we got back on the phone. I said, I guess. So we're both working, and, but we could, we'll meet her. And so she said, well, can you come tomorrow night? She was like in her 50s, taking care of it and getting up every few hours. And so we came the next day, Tuesday night. The birth mom came over. We visited, had a great visit. The next day, the birth mom said she wanted us to have her. So that night, the lady brought her over and said, I'm going to leave her with you for a couple hours. I'll come back, but then you have tomorrow to get ready, and bringing her here to live permanently on Friday. So Monday night we get this call, and Friday we're parents. Like she came
Oh,
back and she gave us the baby on Friday, and then I called an adoption agency. I went to the phone book. This was like 19 years ago. Went into the phone book and was like, somebody just gave me a baby. I think I need to like legally do something. And they're like, yes, yeah. So we had to do the whole like foster thing and, become legally her parents. And that took about 6 months, but was totally smooth and amazing and everything we dreamed about. So
that gives me goosebumps. I mean, how quickly life can literally change in a moment.
they would talk about it. Yeah, it's so total. That day was a big life changing. That week was a total life transforming.
Wow. And then months later, you're pregnant. And I tell people like when I was starting and I had a really tumultuous, long, hard journey to become a mom as well. And it took 7 years and 7 pregnancies and some near-death experiences. But before I had my first child, I used to think like maybe I'll get lucky and get twins, and get a 2-for-1 on the pregnant. Once I had my little guy I was like, that was just crazy thinking. Like that was just so crazy to think that, maybe and not that twins aren't a blessing, but holy cow, the amount of work and not sleeping. I can only imagine what that was like, having 3 little tiny ones all in a period of
Yeah,
very
yeah,
short
it was
time.
very, very busy. And one of the things that came up, when you have all those kids at once, financially it's stressful. You know, we adopted and
Mm,
that was expensive, and IVF's expensive as, and
yes.
then, you know, I sold a business. Once I was running a driver rehabilitation business. I had started a driver rehab business, and I was teaching people with disabilities how to drive with like hand controls, athletic accelerators, things like that.
Wow.
When I got that call, so that was the business I was running, and then I sold that business, which was a very niche business. I was really fortunate to be able to sell it, and I thought that what I sold it for would be enough money to get through the time when she was little until she got to school age. But then the twins came, and then, you know, then here we were with, you know, all these kids, and
Mm.
went through all the money really fast. And so then we were broke. I was like, how am I gonna, do, I couldn't do what I was doing for business, so I had to do something else. And that led into my second business, and then learning to like run a business around little ones, you know. It
It's
was
a
a whole
lot.
nother,
Yeah.
a whole nother
Well, I'm
stress.
sure
Yeah,
you've got all sorts of understanding of what moms of little people are going through right now, trying to
I know.
be full-time mom and figure out how to either launch or grow a business that they already have. How did you make it through those times? How did you figure out how to do business on top of all those tiny little people?
So, you know, one of the biggest challenges, and I think any mom that is listening to this and is in business may appreciate what I'm going to say, but my biggest challenge was laundry. Like, I had 4 children, 3 and under, and so there were 3 girls and 1 boy, and every day, it was like laundry was my challenge. I mean, so much so that I had to I took like at least an hour a day just trying to like go through all the clothes and look at the little tags, because I mean everybody was just different, trying to read the little tags and see whose was whose, and then get it all folded up and then go put it upstairs in the kids' rooms and put it in the drawers, just to come back in a few hours and find that they played in the drawers and the clothes were all over, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, so that was a total waste of time. So then I would just fold it all back up and stick it in the laundry basket, then stick it on the stairs. So I'm like, why am I going to go put it up in there? Because they're just going to totally
Yes.
destroy it. And then it got to the place where it was like, you know what? Why am I even folding if I'm just going to pick them out of the laundry basket on the stairs? And then it started like just piling up in the family room. I was just started to like dump it in the family room. And then I will never forget this day. My neighbor comes over and she walks in, and I literally have this laundry pile in my family room. And it was at least 5 feet wide and 3 feet high. It was enormous, of just laundry that was just piling up, clean clothes that I had to go through and fold. And I was putting it up and putting it up because it was such a pain. And she looked at me, she's like, what is that? And I said, this is laundry. This is my laundry. This is what I deal with every day.
Like, you
And
see these little people? Yeah, this is their mess. This is their mess.
I started crying. I'm like, this is like
Oh,
totally, and I was trying to run a business, and it was totally just driving me crazy. And she's like, this is totally fixable. We could fix this. And I'm like, how do you fix this? This is a problem that's never going to go away. Like, I'm going to keep doing laundry. She's like, oh no, I have this amazing system. So she teaches me this system. It's like I needed 8 big 5-gallon Rubbermaid bins. And you put like, every child had their name on one they had 1 clean bin and 1 dirty bin. And then a little basket for socks. And they were all still in diapers. And so she taught me, and I had just a laundry room with a walkthrough. It was like the garage into the house, so it wasn't
yep.
like a laundry room. It was just like a pass-through. So there was a washer and dryer and some shelves over on the side, and that was it. And so she goes in the laundry room. She's like, okay, you just need to get these shelves reinforced. Go get 8 big Rubbermaids. You're going to put each one of the kids' names on each bin, dirty and clean. And we have some amazing laundry detergent that doesn't bleed. So there's no sorting. So what you do is you fill up each bin with the dirty clothes. For like Madison would have all her dirty clothes, dump it in the washer once the bin was like full, and then take that was the washer, dump it in the dryer, then dump it into the clean bin.
Clean.
No folding. And so it was the most amazing thing. I was sitting there thinking about, like, can I really do this? Like, am I going to mess up their ability to like grow up normal? And we're just going to live out of our laundry room, and all the clothes are going to be here. Like, there's no clothes upstairs. They're all going to just stay in here. There's no going to be folding, no sorting, just dump, 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 dump. And she said, yeah. And I thought about it for the entire day. Like, am I going to do this or not? By the time my husband got home from work, I told him, you can go to Menards or Home Depot. Like, we're doing this system. And do you know that system saved me an hour a day? We adopted that system for over 10 years. So just in 10
Wow.
years, an hour a day for 10 years came to like 365 hours times 10 years, 3,650 hours of my life, which equated to 2 years of working full time. I mean, I built another 6-figure business in less than 12 months with a 3-year-old, 2-year-old twins, and a newborn. because that system enabled me to have time. And when I think about what does that have to do with business,
Mm,
honestly, it has a lot to do with business, because when you think about how many times, like what I was feeling, overwhelmed, how many times do people in business feel overwhelmed? Moms feel overwhelmed. Like, what am I going to do? Like what I'm doing isn't working. It's so, exhausting. And, just learning a system of how to do something that's really driving you crazy, or that you seem like you're spinning your wheels with, that you'd feel like there's not a way to do differently, or you just really don't know what to do. Like, you don't know what you don't know. Like, I would have never thought of doing that system ever. But then willing to adapt something that someone else has proven to really work well, and step into that and do it, even though it felt like super uncomfortable. I mean, had a incredible impact on my time and on my life. And
yeah.
so, yes, it was anything that can feel overwhelming. I mean, I think there's so many correlations to what I experienced with laundry and what a lot of entrepreneurs experience and with business.
Well, I mean, it's phenomenal. And when you really, I mean, there's a couple lessons there. One, yes, the systems, also relying on other people to help us put this type of support into our life or into our business. But also, two, paying attention to the numbers, to our time, to like getting 2 working years of your life back. I mean,
Yeah.
every mom right now is freaking out. They're running to implement this laundry system.
Everything you need is a wrinkle relaxer. You need like that spray so you can just shake the clothes out. There's no ironing because it's all like clump, it's all just in a bin. But what would happen is, like, the kids would go, eventually as they started to age and get bigger, they would pull their bin off, they would dump it out on the carpet, they'd pick through the clothes what they wanted, they dump it back in, put it away. I mean, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah. The moms are all like, I'm not even going to finish the rest of this podcast. I'm driving to get the bins. I know. No, that is a really good story, though, because it's like that one simple change
Mhm.
gave you an hour of your life back every day.
Yeah, it really did. And maybe even more than that. I mean, just, when you have something that's driving you crazy, it's kind of on your mind a lot, when you get it sorted and taken care of, like, it frees up space, not just like your physical time, but just also your thinking time, your stress
Yes.
level, your ability to focus, all
Mm.
that stuff.
No, I love that. And obviously, starting with the thing that's driving you the most nuts or taking up the most of the time that you don't want to be spending doing a particular thing. And I think we all have those, and whether it's our personal life or our business life or, wherever. But it's a really powerful lesson of how one small change can have a really, really big impact.
Think
Um,
about that just in life, right? Like, even inventions, every invention comes from somebody like having a challenge, and like someone thinking of something outside of the box or something different, and then they get adapted, and we end up with all kinds of inventions, like cars and airplanes and all kinds of things that, come from challenges, thinking about,
right.
okay, what's the solution to this?
That's
And, having a solution oriented mindset, I think, when it comes to life and business, and thinking, okay, whatever challenge we're having, recognizing that there is a solution. We
right.
just may not know what it is. We might need, like you said, someone that can share with us what the solution is, because we
Mhm.
may not be able to come up with it ourselves.
No, it's so true. Well, and you obviously have, I'm guessing, and I don't know you well, but I'm guessing that you have both a systems and solution oriented mind because, right, you've built 4 different businesses and 4 different industries, all to over 6 figures in a relatively short period of time. Is that based on a system? Like, what are your observations having walked that path? Like, how do you do that? And I know it's what you work to teach others how to do.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And in fact, when I was working with a coach years ago, I remember her saying, you have a system, you have a methodology that you use. Because I was telling her, I just do it. Like, I just know how. Like, this is how my mind thinks. And she said, well, I get that, but if you could take that out of your mind and really deconstruct and figure out what is it that you're doing, you could teach other people to do that. And so, it was such a powerful process to
Mm.
really go through and identify, what am I doing? So I'd be happy to share. There's a blueprint that I've created, and it works over and over again, for me, for my clients, for anybody. But the first step is, you need to really build a solid foundation. Just like a building, if you don't have a good foundation for your business, like just like a building doesn't have a good foundation, as you build it, it's going to show that, right? It's going to have weaknesses, and some of it may not even get that big because the foundation could be that poor. And so having a really strong foundation is the first piece. And there's obviously a lot to building the foundation, but even just something that you talked about, like having, identifying hours that you're, that's part of your foundation. But there's lots to the foundation, knowing who your target market is and really making sure that you're building a business around your core genius. Your core profits are really centered around your core genius, and that you're not just doing what you think you could do or what would be marketable, but that you're really doing what you were created to do and you're really an expert or skilled at. And there's just a lot with the foundation, but foundation is one of those key pieces of it. And after you have the foundation built, then it's really identifying ways to market and generate leads and sales and make sales. So your marketing needs to be really in place. And I think of marketing like a platform. If you just are doing one thing that's like one post under the platform and it's really weak, and a lot of people it's just referrals. I'm getting referrals, and referrals are fantastic, but what if you're just sitting around waiting for referrals? And so then you have this one post under your platform, and it can become a long wait to the next referral. So how do you really put those posts in? So that I recommend 10, 5 online, 5 offline, but start with 3. Start with 3. You can't do 10 at one time.
Yep.
But so the 3 that I love people to start with is speaking, networking, and referral partners. Those are the 3 best, I feel, ways to really jumpstart lead generation. And speaking can become a cash generating machine. I mean, it's such a great way for people to get to know, like, and trust you, and for you to really have a strategic design around your talk that highlights your expertise and attracts your ideal clients. And then after you really got leads generating, and how your marketing strategies are in place, and all this stuff kind of all happens simultaneously, but just in general, it's like foundation and marketing platform. Then it's building a database. A lot of people don't think about their database as it's a real asset to your business. So how do you build that database and nurture it, and how do you segment it? And there's a lot to the database, and as you grow that database, you can get sponsorship revenue, and there's lots that can happen there, like a lot. In your marketing strategy, you'll have a lead magnet that will also help feed your database. So database is the next piece of that. And then your sales funnel is the next piece of my blueprint. And that's really identifying all of your profit centers and creating some that you may not even have yet, but really being thoughtful around, what are all the different profit centers that you have? And do you have a value ladder for your business of things that are, smaller and then deeper into your funnel? And I even talk about when I teach people about this and creating their profit centers, what's the cornerstone of their sales funnel? That might not be something at the top of the funnel. It might not just be a book or something small. It could be something right in the middle of their sales funnel, like, say, a photographer, for example, just to give an example of like the cornerstone. Maybe a photographer wants to do family photos, and their cornerstone would be maternity shots. Maybe they're going to gear all their marketing around maternity shots, because if they get a maternity client, then they could do the maternity photos, the newborn, the 1 year, the 3 month, all of those, the Christmas photos. They can have a client that would, end up buying up and down that funnel. Right. So understand, like, what's the cornerstone? What should I be putting marketing dollars behind? Not just the traditional, bring them through the top of the funnel down, but really understanding there's a strategy and developing like things at every layer. Because if you don't develop, then you'll never sell them. So understand what things you can do to create those different profit centers. And then the next piece is building a team. Like, once you really know how to generate leads, you really need a team. And I think it's a mistake. A lot of entrepreneurs wait too long to get a team, because they try to just keep doing everything themselves, because they don't want to pay, because they don't feel like they have enough leads to justify doing that. So really, if you can get good and understand how to generate leads, and it gives you the confidence to know that if I don't start building a team and don't start passing off these tasks that I shouldn't, that's not my expertise, that somebody else could do way faster, I'm actually costing my business money by not having a team. And it's super exhausting to try to build your business to 6 figures or add 6 figures if you're not really working and having a team helping you do that. And then the last thing is to build your business in quarters. You really need to have 90-day plans in place. A big business plan is, that's great if you're looking to get funding and, you're going to need all that. But if you're an entrepreneur that's really at a great skill set, and you just want to build an entrepreneurial business around it, 90-day plans is really what you need, and building your business in quarters. And so that's kind of the basics of the blueprint that I teach, the 6 components. It's a lot of process, but it really is the components that are needed to really do it effectively.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, it's right. There's a lot there. I mean, you've put it into phases or steps, but the end of the day, my belief is like nobody gets to skip business fundamentals,
Mhm.
right? And like even on the I think it was the lead generation level, I don't know, maybe it was marketing, but the speaking,
Mhm.
networking, right? And then having referral partners. Like what's fascinating about that is I feel like people often want to skip the obvious, like especially in the online space, like they want to do all these other things, but those like fundamental three pieces are all based on creating relationships, showing up either in person or live, but creating that person to person connection, which is, I feel like, always where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Like it works for a reason. And when you are interacting with other people and communicating with other people and you're doing it the right way and you've got a plan in place, like your business will grow if you've got some of the core pieces together. But I think people often like they want to jump too soon to the stuff that they feel like might be easier or make their path easier, like online ads or doing some of the other stuff without having actually built some of the core relationships that actually drive a business.
Yeah. And, I know we're in the season of COVID and we're not offline as much, but I really do believe
Mhm.
too, like what you're saying is that we need to have success offline
Mhm.
first, because it's going to make your success online uh, way more successful, because
Mhm.
once you know and you can prove that you are able to generate leads and make sales offline, then you can take that and scale it online. But if you're
Mhm.
still trying to figure that out, like many people, I talk to entrepreneurs and they're still not really clear on who they want to serve and what their real
Mm.
service, their core genius is. What is it? They get so kind of lost because they're great at what they do, but then they start getting into this process of trying to build a business around it. And they, like you said, paying attention to what other people are doing and thinking, okay, they're giving success. Maybe that's what I need to do. And then they
Yes.
start jumping into like maybe writing a blog or doing ads or whatever it might be, but they're really sequencing is off, right? They're doing,
Yes.
not that it's just like they don't know what they don't know, right? And
Right.
so learning business is way different than like your skill set. If you're a great doctor, or you're a great photographer, you're a great insurance person, or you're a great whatever you are, attorney, it's like that's great that you're great at those skills, but how do you build a business around is a whole nother skill set.
Very, very, very different.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I think it is really easy for people to get lost in the foundation phase of business building. To
Because
be
it's
want
boring and nobody's making money there. It's like, I don't want to do it. It's kind of like when you watch a building get built, it's like you can't even see it happening, so it's like, I think that's what you're absolutely right. People just want to skip that, and probably for you too, right? Making sure their agreements are in place. And
Well, and that's just it. I find that especially in the industries that I serve, right? And I'm talking about coaching, consulting, online education,
Mhm.
speakers, authors, like their business models all look very similar for the most part. But I joke, it's not really a joke, but like people want to spend a lot of time polishing the car, like
Yeah.
working on the body of the car, but there's no engine, or there's parts of an engine but not the whole engine, and so the car really doesn't run. And people get focused on all the sexy things, marketing and building online websites, and they haven't yet done the work to build the engine and to figure out what really is going to make them go, right? And then layer on those other things next. And I think it's just really easy for people not to spend enough time in the foundation stage. And it's also challenging from the standpoint of being in a marketplace where they're inundated with all these messages about what you should be doing, or here's how you build a business, that really does a disservice for a lot of folks trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So your system, I mean, and I love that you brought up the story of a business coach telling you like, you've got a system. If you look, it's
Yeah.
there because you've obviously done something right now, basically a handful of times. How did you go backwards and suss out your system? Like, how did you look at what you were doing and
Yeah.
recognize that there actually was a system there?
I just started looking at the patterns, if I were
Mm,
just kind of thought through, okay, I've done this over and over. What if I were just to do it again?
yeah.
What would
How
I
would I
do?
approach it?
Yeah. And I started to, just think through that. And, um, And then I started testing it with people that had businesses, and started trying that out on them, like,
Mm-hmm.
and helping them, and the results were incredible. And then I was like, okay, this is duplicatable. It's not, because sometimes you get into this where this is where I was at, was like, I don't know how to teach this, this is
Mm-hmm.
just how my mind thinks. But then as I started to share it, and once I identify what it was, I found I could teach it and share it. And, that was many, many, many years ago. I've been coaching people now for 15 or 16 years.
Mm.
And so it's been really fun. And it's been really fun to watch people do amazing. Like I remember last January, I met a functional medicine doctor, and she had tried years ago to start a business and didn't work out. She had to go work back at the hospital. And then dream didn't die. And so she started again. She was about 6 months into it. She was making like $4,000 a month. And so she got a little nervous again that it wasn't going to work, because she needed to make a lot more money than that. And then we started working together, and she made over 400,000 last year.
Wow.
And she was, this year, like even during COVID, like she had, I think, 65,000 in March. I mean, she's just doing amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just really fun to help people that are great at what they do be able to go and do it. It's
Mm-hmm.
just teaching them those principles and like how to actually sequence it and do it and be successful with it. So.
Mm. I mean, and that obviously sounds like the favorite part of your work, like actually seeing the results come to fruition and what a change it makes for people. What's the most challenging part of your work?
Well, I think I'm not a mindset coach, although but I recognize that is like probably the most challenging piece for people, is they
Mm,
can't get out of their own way, or they get, and I don't mind it, but it is the thing that will slow them down, is like emotional intelligence, if that makes sense. Like being able to handle and believe, I think belief inspires action.
mm,
I mean, as simple as like, do you believe the chair you're sitting in is going to hold you up? If you didn't believe it, you wouldn't sit in it,
yeah.
So it's like whenever we are not taking action, it's usually because we don't believe that it's going to work, you know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that's probably the biggest challenge, is helping people to believe. And,
Mm.
so many sayings out there, if you believe you can, you can. And, but they're there for a reason, because they're true,
Well, it is true. And this is such an important piece of the overall conversation. I was just talking with a gentleman about this reality that people will, like, they'll open the door to starting down a path, or they'll know enough to like buy a course or pay for services working with a coach. But the number of people that like actually get across the finish line and do the thing that they set out to do, like, there's so many ways that path gets interrupted. And I think you're right. I think so much of it is actually like clear back at the starting gate
Mhm.
around
Well,
this.
even like, have you experienced this where you're even in your own business, you're getting to different milestones, and then it's like believing that you can, go from 6 figures to multiple 6 figures to 7 figures to multiple 7 figures to an 8 figure. I mean, it's like interesting. And when you talk to different people, like some people have goals to make, 100 million a month. Some people have that goal, and some people have a goal of making 1 million a month, and some people have a goal of making 100,000 a month, and some people have a goal of making 1,000 a month. And it's like
Right.
a lot of it is based on like, I mean, if you don't have a goal of making 100 million a month, you're never going to have a plan in
Right.
place. You're never going to ask yourself those questions. What do I need to do to make 100 million a month? You know, I remember, I mean, it was even for me, I was sitting with a trusted advisor, and we were talking, and he was talking about small businesses. And his definition of a small business was a few billion. That was his definition of a small business. Like that was his mindset. This is a small business, a few billion. And
Right.
I said, wow, I really need to adjust my mindset. Like that's not my mindset. I mean, for me, a few $1 billion business is a big business. And
That's
so,
a big business. That's
it
right.
all comes down to like your thoughts and your beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And it all inspires the actions that need to come from that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, yes, you're right. And I think also it's just human nature that progress generally to some extent is incremental. Yes, we can make leaps, but like our current reality and even our next reality is really influenced by our experience right now, right? And it does take courage to make that decision, to change that belief, decide that we're going to go to the next level, and then find the right pieces to help us get there. But it does start with a decision, and the connecting the dots piece is that a belief is a decision.
Absolutely. And even who you're talking to, who are you spending time with? You know, there's a principle, you know, like the 5 people you spend the most time with is who you become. So who are you spending time talking with and masterminding
Yes.
with? Are you spending time talking with people that, you know, think like, where are they on that spectrum, and where do
Mhm.
you want to be? And if you are the one bringing everybody else up to where you are, or are you being inspired by others that are really at a high level? You know, I just
Mhm.
actually today joined a mastermind. It's $10,000 a month, and it's with people that are making 7, 8, and 9 figures, and
Mhm.
they're all like top performers in all their business. But I thought, you know, I tend to end up in that place where I'm inspiring a lot of people
Mm.
around me, and I need to like not.
Not
I
always
need
be
to be
that role.
inspired. Yes, I need people that are around me that are inspiring me and that are giving me stuff that I can pass on to then, you know, even more things that like I don't know. You know, you don't know, you don't
Yes.
know. So like there's so much that people that are making 8 and 9 figures that I don't know anything about, you know.
Right.
I don't,
Right.
the way that they structure their taxes, the way that they use trust, the way that they do all kinds of things that I don't even know anything about, you know.
Mhm.
You know, doing foreign exchange and like investments and all kinds of things that, you know,
Yeah.
unless you're with those people, you're not going to learn that stuff.
Right. And well, and it also speaks to the truth that what got us from there to here is not going to be the same thing that gets us
Yeah.
from here to the next level. And so, we have to constantly be switching up our tools and our environments.
Yes.
And I think that's the challenging part for people, is recognizing like there has to be constant evolution in who they spend time with and what mentors they're selecting, because it keeps changing. Every step of the way, it keeps changing.
Yeah. It's it's true. And the mind is a powerful thing. It really is.
Yep.
You know,
Nope.
anything that we look at, every single thing that we look at that is man-made was somebody's thought first. Everything.
Right. Yes, it's
Everything.
fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to think about. Well, and you've got some phenomenal experience behind you. You've worked with some superstars in the speaking world. You obviously are a superstar yourself. How did you, like, why speaking? How did you get into speaking? How did that become the thing?
Well, it was um, the way that, like, when I looked at all of, like, when I dissected my businesses, it was something I
Mhm.
recognized that that was a tool that I was using as a marketing strategy that was the most effective. It
Mm,
truly becomes a cash generating machine in your business when you have a talk that you could do that is done in a classy way, that strategically has a design that
mhm.
highlights your expertise and attracts your ideal clients to you. So it's like, have you been to those meetings or talks where they, like, the speaker finishes and there's a line of people waiting to talk with them? And then you've been to others where the speaker was good and then you're just like, great information, thank you so much. And there's not
Totally.
like this, you know. And how do the people get the line, right? And that's the part that is the cash generating machine, like understanding that design. And that design is a couple things. Like, first of all, like when you're doing talks, you want to give, like when I went through the blueprint with you and told you all those pieces of blueprint, I would never talk about that in a talk, ever.
Mm-hmm.
I would seed it that there's a blueprint
Right.
I have, but I
Right.
wouldn't talk about it because it's way too much process.
Yeah.
And it's really like informational.
Right.
Like,
You've got to sell the results, not the
yeah,
path.
not the
Yes.
path. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that piece is a really, and what happens though for a lot of entrepreneurs is they think that they need to get up and talk about their process.
Mm,
Like they think that they need to get up and like, not that you don't need to be educational. Of course you want to be educational, but the education should happen in stories,
yes.
because stories are what's memorable, right?
Mm,
So a talk, ideally is like more than 50% of a talk is stories. Now,
Yes.
stories are not just a series of events, meaning, well, then this happened and then this happened and this happened. That's just a series of events. But that's what a lot of people think when they're telling a story. They just go through like a timeline.
Like sequentially, yes.
Yeah, and that's not the way to tell a story. So there is a real strategy and a design to
Mhm.
speaking that will get those results. But then if you think about it, like just for simple math, I'll just show you how powerful this is. So let's say you're talking to a room full of 50 people.
Mhm.
And let's say that your services, like an average client to you, let's say over the course of that client's life, maybe it's $5,000 is what an average client value is to you. So you speak in front of 50 people and you do your talk that's designed properly. And then you make a gift offer. So you're speaking for free. No one's paying you to speak in this scenario. So you're in front of 50 people, you do your talk, you give a gift away, which we call it in the speaking design world a lead magnet. So you give a gift away that's really valuable, that the audience really will want. And if you're in front of your target market, if it's a good lead magnet, like at least 90% of the room is going to want your lead magnet. And so you're going to get their name and email, and that's going to go into your database for future sales and future connections, right? And then I recommend making an offer to 25 or 30% of the room. So let's say you make an offer to 12 people to have a conversation with you. And if you know how to do a good consultation to get a yes, let's say 50%, because now you have 12 people that are already heard you speak and you heard talk, vetted the right people. Now you're talking to 12 really ideal clients, and let's say you can close half of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you close 6 to actually work with you. So 6 times 5,000 each, you actually made $30,000 in that one talk. You may have talked for 30 minutes and you may have been at that meeting for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But that one talk yielded $30,000 in revenue for your business. Now, if you did that twice a month in front of 50 people each meeting and you had the same conversion, you made $60,000 a month. And now with the virtual speaking opportunities that we have, and the opportunities that are everywhere, you could be doing that weekly, let's say. Now you make $240,000. It's like, it is really a powerful strategy.
Yes. Well, and I agree. And the thing that's so beautiful about speaking, and depending on what the setup is, but if you're not the person doing all the effort to put buns in seats,
Yes, that's not the way to do it.
right?
Yeah.
No, but if you
Yeah.
can show up, you've got a captive audience, and the more time that you
Yes.
spend with somebody, then they go, "Oh, I know Jen. I've seen her. I got to experience her in person." Like there's this rapport that's built during that process that you really can't do in any other way.
Yeah, it's really true. It's the best way for people to get to know, like, and trust you. And you're right. Like, you being the person that's leading and creating an event, you certainly can do that. But then you have a whole bunch of other things that you have to do, right? Sell the
Yes.
tickets and everything. So I recommend finding people already have people
Right.
and
You
have
just
good title of your talk and good copy that's going to help them fill the seats. But then, to your point though, like, you could actually create opportunities for yourself, like with Facebook Live or LinkedIn, where you can deconstruct your talk. And
yeah.
you could do, like, and your different principles that you're going to talk about, just pieces of it, or do a
Yeah.
series on YouTube that's connected. I mean, there's so many ways to utilize the talk versus just, from a virtual standpoint, and you can control your opportunities to get that message out.
That's right. Well, and even breaking down your fundamentals, going back to the idea that everybody should be doing speaking, networking, right? And have some sort of a referral system or create referral partners. Like there's no reason why those are not activities that we cannot keep doing right now, just in a different format, but they still work.
Accelerate them. Like, well, that's
Yes.
what I found being, I was traveling quite a bit and I love to travel. So it's hard not being able to travel right now
Yes.
the way that I miss it a lot. But also, just if you look at how much more productivity that you actually can have right now, because you're not traveling and the expenses are, you're not having those expenses of flights and hotels and
Mm,
activities and food. And, you actually could be way more profitable using
mm.
speaking right now and doing it
Yes.
virtual.
Totally. And I think that people should absolutely, as much as possible, get rid of any hesitation about doing what they did previously and just finding new ways to do it in the online space. Because, I mean, I've been a part of virtual events that are hundreds of people that went very, very well and still felt intimate. And then, like, a couple of weeks ago, like, helped to fill, I've got a personal passion project that's launching Monday this next week called the Leap Lab. But I just showed up to like it's a friend, actually mutual friend in our mastermind group, who started the wine conversation and cash method, right? You host an evening of like 10 or 12 people. There's a certain way you do it if you're doing it live in your home, but you can totally do this online. And even just from that one event, I probably got 4 signups to this program, right?
Wonderful.
Showing up in a group of 10 people. And so it's like the work works. You
Yeah.
just got to do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, so for you right now, what comes next? Are you like, what would you like for people that are listening? Where are you? Have you got programs? Are you working one-on-one with people? What do people need to know about what you're up to?
Well, I have a conference coming up next month, and so we're doing an Engaging Speakers Conference. You can go to engagingspeakersconference.com.
Nice. Okay. And for folks listening, yep, I'll share that link and any others on
Yep.
the show notes page, legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. So they can find all of that for Jen, and any contact information you want as far as social, where you're at, we'll put on there too.
We have Jack Canfield speaking on our conference, and if you've read the book, The One Thing is speaking, and then my speaker team. But it's really about impact. That's our theme, is impact live, make an impact, and get results and using speaking. So we're going to be teaching all about speaking and how to create your signature talk, how to deliver your delivery skills, how to build prestige, and then of course Jack and The One Thing are be teaching their segments. So I'm real excited about that. It's going to be like a true virtual conference. I have
Awesome.
hired an awesome event team to create this amazing experience, and we're going to be filming in the studio, and it's going to be like super fun. I'm super excited about that. It's not going to be like your typical Zoom stuff. It's going to be a totally different type of thing.
Oh,
So
fun.
that's going to be fun. So that would be one thing. Like if people are looking at wanting to, explore, that would be a nice place to do that. And then Engaging Speakers, we do monthly meetings. So we have a wonderful community of just amazing entrepreneurs that are all interested in using speaking as a marketing strategy. So of course, I'd be happy to have anybody come. We have guests that can come for free to our meetings and check us out. So love to invite anybody. We do the last Wednesday of every month and the first Tuesday of every month. And so that you can go to Engaging Speakers and check out our events, and they can join us for a meeting for free.
Oh, that's so nice. Awesome.
And then I, of course, do coaching on helping people that are great at what they do, that want to add 6 figures or build to 6 figures in less than 12 months. And if anybody would like to, talk with me further about that, they can just go to jencoffel.com/breakthrough. I have a little questionnaire. If they fill that out, then I'll send them a link to schedule a call with me so I can talk to them and get to know them a little bit more and see if we might be a good fit to work together.
Awesome. Well, that's fabulous. I highly recommend, if you are in the space of really wanting to take your business to the next level, and you don't yet have the systems and the map for doing it. I mean, obviously you've been through this before, Jen, and it sounds like you've walked hundreds or thousands of people through this process, and it works. Where do you like to connect online? Are you other places? And we'll share your website links. Do you have any favorite places to connect?
Well, not really. I think
Not really.
LinkedIn is probably a great one to connect, and I have a Facebook page, but
Otherwise, going to your website and connecting
yeah,
there.
I think
Okay.
jencoffel.com, you can kind of reach all of my stuff through there. So,
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we will share that link on the show notes page. So be sure to visit legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. What thoughts or ideas or recommendations do you want to leave folks with that are listening today?
well, I was just curious what your Monday launch thing, what is it that you were talking about?
Oh, totally. So it's called the Leap Lab,
Yeah.
and it's an idea that hit me during COVID, and I just haven't been able to shake it. So I'm like, well, I better do it then, because it was like keeping me up at night. And I think part of it stems from really my personal experience during COVID, that like things are just so intense. And, you and I talked briefly before. I've got two little people. I've got a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old. They both just had birthdays in the last week. So, fresh off of 2 and 7. But trying to be a parent, really full time, trying to work practically full time, trying to do all of this in the midst of this period where all of our other supports have fallen away, school, and my son has various therapies that we can't do, and he has all sorts of supports at school that help him to be successful there. And it's, for a variety of reasons, it's just a really challenging time. And I know that a lot of women are feeling this right now, and men too, but a lot of women. And so I just thought, when we're in periods where pressure is high and there's a lot of constraint and things need to shift, I think there are many of us who feel like we still need to create some change in a way that is supportive and that really truthfully is very creative. We have to be creative in times like this, right? It's a little bit like that laundry system idea. Like you wouldn't have thought of it, and that it shows up, and when you actually do it, like look at the actual freedom that it provided, especially over time. We do have to get creative. And so I just started this thing called the Leap Lab, and I launched a whole website, at theleaplab.com. But I just thought, it's time for me to go inward and actually give myself the gift of that time to do the work, like really dig deep, and yet like it's really systematized. Like when you talk about systems, like there's an order, and I know it because I've lived it. And anytime I do the work, it works and things show up, and truthfully miracles happen. And so I thought, if I'm going to give myself the gift of that time, why not do it in connection with other women and walk them through it as well, and have it be a place of collaboration and connection and multiple women doing the work and creating amazing results. So that's what it is. I've got 10 women enrolled. I have a couple spaces left, but we start on Monday, and it's going to be really it's going to be so fun. I spent, and people who are listening won't be able to hear this, but I literally spent like 20 hours over the weekend dumping everything out in my brain that is part of the system into a workbook.
What's the results that come from the system?
Basically, any time you want to create change, create a leap. It's called the Leap Lab. It's a place where women leap, right? Anytime you need to create a dramatic shift. So it's really, and we could spend time off of the call going through a lot of the details, but it's a way to dig in and create results and pretty significant change in a short period of time. But it's about, it's I think a lot of times it's really easy to get away from the consistency of doing the inner work that really is truly what matters to create the change in our outer reality. And right now, we don't have ways of calling in any additional support. Like we have to go in.
Yeah, I love it.
So
That's
yeah,
exciting.
it's going to be really fun. And it really, people can show up and do goal setting or want to create changes in whatever area of life. So it could be personal, it could be business, like the work's the same, the process is the same, but super fun. And women are the glue. The world doesn't work very well when women are stressed out and maxed out, and so it's time.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it will be fun. But back to your final thoughts, for people that have been listening, what do you want? I mean, you've got a lot of experience, both as a mom, as a business owner, as somebody who walks other people through the path of really building their own businesses the right way. What, during this crazy time, I guess, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave people with?
There's a quote that I love, and it kind of ties into what you're doing too. We're one decision away from changing the rest of our lives.
Mm.
And just making, what is that one decision? Even the book, The One Thing, what's that one thing that if you were to do that one thing, it would make the most measurable impact, in your life, and whatever your system is, right? Like you made that decision, it was gnawing at you, and that decision you made, who knows where that's going to take you, right? But you're definitely made a decision to do it.
That's right.
You have 10 people enrolled, and you got, I think it's really thinking about like, what decision do I need to make? Even the laundry, like it was that moment of like a decision. Am I going to go that way, or am I going to stay where I was? and still deal
Yes.
with the stress of all this. So, I just, I guess, would invite the listeners to ask that question, what is the one
Mhm.
decision that I need to make? And, who could help me, having that solution oriented mindset, like, what do I need in order to, you know, what kind of support, what kind of help do I need?
Mhm.
Maybe it's your Leap Lab, or maybe it's, you know, them connecting with somebody, and success leaves clue, find somebody else that's done what you want to do. And if they're available to help you, whether it's mentoring or coaching relationship, then step into that and get the
Yeah.
help, or, whatever it is that is the answer to that. Um, I would just
Mm.
encourage them to do that, because I think that it's probably the most, that making that decision is going to bring the results, that they're
Mm.
desiring.
Well, and it really is true that anything new, any result starts with a decision. Like in
Mhm.
the absence of a new decision, there is not a new result.
Right.
And it's that question of what is the one thing I could do that makes
Mhm.
everything easier, right? Or obsolete, like
Right.
stops some of the other things from even needing to be done,
Mhm.
is a really, really powerful question. So that's super fun that they're going to be at your conference.
Yeah.
Um, the well, for folks that are listening, Jen, I'm just so grateful that you came and showed up today. I know that life is busy and you just moved and there's lots going on, but so glad to be able to connect with you and share your work and your message with people. Be sure to go visit the show notes, legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. Jen, I really look forward to connecting again soon.
Me too, Heather. Congratulations on your work that you're doing as
Oh,
well. Thanks for
thank you. Absolutely.